Let's chat a bit more about England's match day 23 to take on Australia this weekend. I was at Pennyhill Park, the England training base, yesterday where I did a video reacting to the team news. And as I said in that, I just feel like it's a really interesting selection from Steve Borthwick. And I spoke to Borthwick. I also spoke to George Ford, who's starting at fly half on the weekend. So I'm going to play you snippets of both of those interviews very, very shortly because Ford he's a brilliant talker, George Ford. If you've ever heard him speak, if you've ever heard him interviewed, he's so enjoyable to chat to about rugby, such an intelligent talker. But he was really good on, I suppose, the battle for the England 10 jersey between him, Finn Smith and Marcus Smith. So that's coming up. And also then Steve Borthwick, who spoke about positional versatility, building up to the next World Cup, players that can play multiple different positions. I think that is so obviously a real focus and a highlight for the 23 that he has selected to take on the Wallabies. So a few interesting bits coming up. Give me your views down below once again. You've had a bit more time to process it now. So what do you make of the England 23? And I suppose more pointedly, what do you make of the selection policy here of Steve Borthwick? What do you make of the clear eye, I think, to the next World Cup and the versatility and all that sort of thing? Have your say in the comments. I'd love it if you like the video, and I'd love it if you hit subscribe as well. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name's Alfie. Appreciate you clicking on the video. So as I say, yesterday, I got that 23 and it really excited me. And I know probably the most controversial point is going to be Ollie Lawrence. Borthwick is going to speak about that. Freeman at 13. But I'm really excited by this team, and to emphasise what I said yesterday, I think Steve Borthwick is such a punchy selector. I think he is as bold an international selector as certainly I can remember England having. He takes risks, he tries things, he looks to build this team and develop this team to be able to attack a World Cup in 4 years' time. And there might be some of you, there's often the argument in this instance of, I don't care about the World Cup in 2 years' time. I said 4 years' time. There might be some of you that say, I don't care about the World Cup in 2 years' time. Beat Australia this weekend. Pick your best 23 to do so. Which is fair, I get. I can totally understand why a coach is looking to build towards a World Cup, because it defines teams, it defines legacies. That England 2003 World Cup winning team have a legacy like no other England team. So I do understand it. Let's hear from Steve Borthwick. I've teed him up. So I asked him about why Tommy Freeman moving to 13. And he said, well, we've played Tommy Freeman at 13 before. We have seen him play there for England. He's obviously played there for Northampton. It's something they've spoken about. So he speaks about that. And in particular, he starts off by talking about what moving Freeman to 13 does in terms of allowing him to pick other options on the wing.
You're also seeing the emergence of a whole host of exciting English wingers. So Tommy playing at 13 gives you the possibility of playing two other brilliant players on the wing. Now at this point I will mention about the depth and competition we've got for places, because you do look at a player like Ollie Lawrence, who's a tremendous player, and he's missed out on selection so very narrowly. But I know he's going to be, I'm sure he'll have a big part to play in England in games in the very near future.
So do you still view Tommy Freeman as a winger that can play centre, or are you starting to look at him purely as a 13?
I think he can play both positions.
Yeah.
And very clearly like that. And I don't believe in having to put kind of a priority order upon it. I think he can play both positions. And I think positional flexibility, versatility is really important in Test rugby. When you start looking at World Cup squads, a slightly longer horizon, is that having players who can play in multiple positions is important, really important in the outside backs. I think when you look in the immediacy, the ability to play 6-2, the ability of Tommy to play in different positions, of Finn Smith to be able to play in different positions, Ben Earl to play in the back row and start at number 8 and play in the centres, the Guy Pepper being able to play in the backs, Henry Pollock's ability to operate as a winger, having that flexibility, and you'd expect me to be working through these different permutations to be thorough in the preparation of the team.
So I think the England head coach often gets branded as being boring, and people almost can't see past that. I thought that personally was a fascinating answer on moving Freeman to 13 because they've got so many good wingers at the moment in England that it means you can get more of those players into the team. And then in particular on the versatility stuff, which gets us on to Finn Smith possibly playing 12. Ben Earl possibly playing 12. Guy Pepper, he said, can cover the back line. He didn't specify what positions, but him potentially playing in the back line. Henry Pollock playing on the wing. And I asked him later what is the options for fullback cover, and he said Tommy Freeman could be the guy that goes in and plays fullback, which I think on the one hand, some people are going to say, why don't you just play players in position? But the way I look at it is if the Springboks can go into a World Cup final with a 7-1 bench split, with Cheslin Colby being called into a meeting in the week and asked if he's comfortable playing scrum half in a World Cup final if someone gets injured, and he says yes. If it's good enough for them, why wouldn't that be something that could be good enough for England? And why wouldn't it be something that you try and build towards and building your strength in depth? And that's why I feel a bit invigorated from this team news. I feel quite excited about it. And it's something that we have seen them try to do before. I remember at the end of the Six Nations against Wales, England picked up a couple of injuries that left them pretty light on their bench because of the options they had, and they were able to deal with them. And I think this is a continuation of that. I saw a comment on the video that I did yesterday of saying if Borthwick was a different nationality or had a different name, then people would be saying that this is absolute genius. I really like it. I'm really interested in it. I get it from Ollie Lawrence's point of view, and Bath fans' point of view are probably thinking, why on earth is Ollie Lawrence not just playing 13? He's probably the best 13 in the Prem at the moment. I get it. I also think when you listen to the England head coach, you do start to see what he's thinking and why it makes sense. Now, the other thing that I saw a comment on the video yesterday that I did about England fly halves and saying I perhaps didn't speak that much about Marcus Smith. I think what I did say was when I look at the England fly half position, Finn Smith, Marcus Smith, George Ford, there is no bad option. I almost don't mind who starts, in all honesty. That's what I said. To get into it in a bit more detail, let's hear from George Ford himself. Because if you think back, this time last year, Marcus Smith was the England fly half in the autumn in an England team that were playing okay but were losing, and were losing games in the last 20 minutes. Finn Smith came in the Six Nations for the game against France, and then England end up beating France at Twickenham. Admittedly, France butchered at least 2 or 3 tries in that game and should have been out of sight. But then it was Finn Smith's jersey for the rest of that campaign. Then he goes off on the Lions tour, and George Ford comes in, plays really well in Argentina. You have 3 excellent options, and George Ford starts this weekend. And I asked the England fly half whether he enjoys the competition with Finn Smith and with Marcus Smith for that England 10 jersey.
There's a lot made of it, and it's never me against Finn or me against Marcus, Finn against Matt. It never is that, and I know people like to build it up like it is. I suppose that's just natural. Our relationship between the 3 of us is brilliant. We all respect each other highly. Whoever gets chosen to start or be on the bench or not involved is Steve's decision. But the most important thing is that we all do our job as well as we can to make England win. And Steve will pick a team to win that weekend. It doesn't mean that next weekend it might be different, So like what we're trying to say here is that we've got responsibility as the 3 10s in the squad at the minute to improve the team, to make the team in a great position to go and win at weekend. And then it'll be the same process in the following weeks as well. But our most important thing is Australia this week. The 23 has been named, and we're preparing as well as we can.
And we've mentioned the summer, George. I was wondering for you, how much motivation for you individually do you take from not being selected on the Lions tour? Like, do you use that as something that gets the fire burning to prove people wrong, or are you someone that kind of parks it, selection, you don't have too much? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
How do you approach it?
No, it wasn't about proving people wrong. It was I had an opportunity to go and represent England again, and like that's, for me, such a privileged position to be in. Any opportunity to go and play for England, no matter the situation, is an incredible one. So that was my motivation. It wasn't anything other than that, really, and it's no different this week.
As I said earlier, I love speaking to George Ford. He is such an intelligent talker when it comes to the game. He's thoughtful, he's interesting. And he was really good on there as well, I suppose, on the 2 things I asked him about, in that I know we all look at it as who's going to be the England fly half, but they are a trio that work together. And then the Lions thing, I didn't know whether that was going to be something, and I think it comes down to your personality, doesn't it? On whether it's something you use as motivation or something you say, is what it is. You can only do so much in terms of selection, and he enjoyed his time with England. I do think George Ford is going to go down as one of the best players to never be selected on a Lions tour. I think he is outstanding, and I think it's just been unfortunate with how selection has fallen for each of those tours. But in terms of no Marcus Smith in this team, to go back to the comment I got on the video yesterday, I am surprised. It makes more sense once you've heard Steve Borthwick say that he thinks Finn Smith can cover 12. The reason I thought Marcus Smith would be in this team as the bench option is because of the versatility. We've seen him play fullback. I don't think he is a fullback, but we've seen him play there. You could put him on the wing as well. But if you think you've got some versatility with Finn Smith, then it starts to make a bit more sense. It's a tough thing, isn't it? One of these fly halves is going to miss out. And it's always going to feel harsh on who it is, because I think they're all excellent options. Marcus Smith will play this autumn and have an important role to play for England, but he misses out this weekend. So I'll leave it there. Hopefully that has been useful to put a bit more meat on the bones, in particular from hearing from the England head coach and hearing from George Ford. I'm excited by this selection. Doesn't mean it's going to work. England could lose at the weekend against Australia because they've had 4 months together. England have had a week, about 4 training sessions, I think. But I appreciate and respect what they're trying to do with selection. Give me your views down below, like the video as well, and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one.